Hello, hello, hello. It is the ABC Team Huddle for March 1st, 2022. And the first point of order is some housekeeping things, mostly to let you know that we are not going to be holding any March Team Huddles whatsoever. We're kind of moving to a different format where, and I'm open to consideration. So if you're catching this recording, please reach out. I really value your feedback. Hit us up on Slack, go into the Transcription Excellence channel and give feedback on, if you prefer continuing with weekly meetings, if you'd rather just do a once monthly Q&A social gathering kind of thing. Of course, we have Slack now, which is a great tool. And I know most everybody I have talked to in my entire existence has said, we don't need more meetings for the sake of meetings. So as far as the training aspect of it, I was thinking about just being able to do, quick 3 to 8, 10-minute videos max as I'm proofing and working through files that we can just pull it up and say, this is what we're seeing. This is how you address this topic, rather than having these huddles that go for 45 minutes and they cover multiple topics and then you have to sort and sift. I just feel like it would be more efficient and hopefully it'll give you guys, more of what you need in a very compact way. So very open to that feedback. As far as housekeeping, the other thing is, let's talk Slack for a hot minute. I know that we've had, because I was just talking with Laura today, and everybody agrees this is a great tool. Again, thank you, Anne, for bringing it to our attention. And a lot of people have already used it before, so it's been a good fit. When we have questions about like audio missing, PowerPoints, something's wrong in the Dropbox or something that you need for your meetings, let's just use the Transcription Excellence channel. If I'm DM'd on something with a question about that stuff, it does not go to Laura. Even if she's tagged in it, she can't see it because it's a direct message to me. So any questions, and even if it seems like it's not laborious, it's not clunky, we want to hear from you, we can get you what you need faster if we just put everything in that Transcription Excellence. So that really, I look at the Transcription Excellence channel as our main channel for all things transcription. And I did add one for new jobs and announcements. That's where we have those new, so we've already got the first two verbatim minutes out and assigned. Now we have 2 additional verbatim assignments that are out. That's under new job announcements channel. And then we still have the channel for checklist ideas and client guidelines. They seem the same, but a checklist would be something that as you're transcribing, but especially as you're getting ready to submit, to just go through and make sure you've got like code capitalized when it has to do with that particular entity's code. And sometimes that's an easy find replace, things you can do just at the end of your document before you submit, check off the boxes, boom, got it done, send it out. The guidelines is something that we're developing much more robustly for everybody on the team, but something that will especially help new team members coming in. So those are the difference of those channels. Any questions about housekeeping per se, or the Slack or the meetings? Nope. I'll take that as no, thank you. All right. So I'm going to share screen. I'm going to just go through, as I said, we're doing these verbatims now that have been a call up from meetings that we've already have. And Astoria, Letty's our Astoria queen, as we know, and she has already transcribed these meetings, but a lot of times a client will need them verbatim because in this case, this particular hearing item is going to court. Basically LUBA is the court of the land as far as land use. And when that happens, they want everything verbatim. And there's 2 things happening here. So these HLC meetings that were first assigned, we'll talk about the formatting and stuff in a minute. They just want the public hearing portion transcribed. The other thing that a city will do is they want the entire meeting verbatim from call to order to adjournment. And that's what the last 2, it's for the Astoria City Council January 17th and the February 6th meeting. So that entire document, that entire audio file will be verbatim. We do it cleaned up. We do include false starts, especially if it has to do with and this goes across all of ABC's verbatim transcription, depends on what kind of transcription world you come from, but we do include false starts because a lot of times an individual, whether they're applicant or staff, might false start on the width of a sidewalk, for instance, or the height of a building. You know, it's going to be 40 feet tall, and it's good to include that because it could always come back, hey, we heard 4, not 40, you know. Enough of that. I hope that explains that. So false starts are included. We do clean it up in that we do remove ums and ahs. Other than that, it's a verbatim file. So I've got these two displayed. This is the one where they're only doing that particular portion of the hearing. But the formatting for this style, where it's just the public hearing, or if you're transcribing an entire file, whether it's Landmarks Commission, a city council, anything, we still want the same format. Every meeting that's verbatim will still use the format and structure of their meeting draft. So with the Historic Landmarks Commission, the original is on the left, and you can see, you know, we have the draft in the background. We have the header, you know, with the meeting itself, the place and the date. We also have the footer. So all of that should still be the same. And so when we're assigning a verbatim file, we will always supply a sample or a prior file. There might be exceptions if they're a brand new client and so forth, but if you don't have a sample and you're doing a verbatim, please make a request for it. It will save you a ton of time, because all you're going to do with a verbatim file is you're going to use the old one, and you're just going to insert your your verbatim portion within the hearing portion. So in this case, we're not transcribing the entire file, but for the purposes of a verbatim file, we do still include the call to order. So we have, this will also be over in the new verbatim file. This they did a great job. They included all the agenda items, but I hadn't trained on how it's supposed to mimic the entire minutes document. So call to order and the roll call are both included. After that, all that is going to happen is it's going to look like Letty's on the left where it says election of officers, and then it'll also include the published agenda items. So all of this is what's published for the public. Your agenda is going to look exactly the same as it's published, but then for the verbatim, since we're not transcribing election of officers, all of that I've highlighted would simply go away. And that's how it would look. All of these things are just all of the agenda items are going to be changed so they look just like our normal minutes. You can see with approval of minutes here, approval of minutes here, that's going to look the same as the one on the left. But then everything in between is going to be deleted until we get to public hearings. And so once we start at public hearings, again, the agenda item will be the same. This item 5.5a is all going to look, all of this is going to look exactly the same as on Letty's. So when you're going to transcribe that portion, you're going to start, and we give the timestamps when it's these things, you're going to start at 9:22, and just as was done on the right, you're going to just start typing President Burns, and then that's the speaker that goes forward. One thing we have done, and again, this is still a training thing, is that we had been wrapping the text. So the speaker, oops, I'm having mouse trouble still, sorry everybody. So that we can just wrap that text so it's a little easier for the reader to see the speaker. And then the subsequent paragraphs from President Burns in this case would just follow. And I'm not making this too pretty, but this is where you use that wonderful painter. And it did not work. Maybe it has to do with the formatting from the original, but ideally we just want those so that they wrap. We can see President Burns, and then Vice President Devenbach would come back to the side as well. And then you would just carry on that formatting. So it's just easier for the person to see. And so that's how we do the verbatim. Obviously, when they're doing call to order, it is tedious. Roll call, they literally call out the specific, President Mac Burns, and then the next line, President Burns here. And it's usually, let's say it's probably the Secretary Tiffany Taylor. Tiffany Taylor calls, and then it would be the colon, Vice President Michelle Deffenbach. Next line, Michelle Deffenbach here. I mean, it is just, it's verbatim. Every new speaker is a new line, and we do bold the person along the left margin for that's a new speaker. So that is a real quick overview of what's happening with verbatim files. Again, these new files are going to be completely transcribed from call to order to adjournment. So that's what I had on the verbatim. Does anybody have any questions about those? Yes, Claire, go ahead.
What happens? What are ABC's guidelines for writing if there's overtalk or inaudibles or background noise in a verbatim, or they cut each other off?
Great question. Let me see. I may or may not have a old one from back in the day. We used to do transcription meetings of engineering files. It's a little bit different format. I'll see if I can't find one. It has been a long time since we've done one of those, and I'm not readily find one. I don't want to waste your time. The format would be, let's say, let's just take this one. Are you still seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, I'm just going to butcher this up, but I'll fix it later. So let's say President Burns starts talking. He gets interrupted by Deffenbach. And this is going to be rough, but I think you'll get to the idea. And then she goes, blah, 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 interrupts. And then we have President Burns is continuing. That's, I believe, how we've done it in the past. That's how we've done it in the past.
Okay.
That makes sense. If they're interrupted, they're interjecting. And that's to me where verbatim was the most tedious. What we do normally for ABC is we just kind of make that all pretty and it goes away.
Yeah. So it's a dash, not an ellipses.
Oh, yeah, definitely a dash. And so this is usually just the colon is indicating the speaker. And then typically, I don't know, that's kind of a, oops. Is that how you, I don't know. I'm clunky when I do that, but typically it's almost like a false start.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you're interrupted. And then inaudibles would be the same. If it's inaudible, it's blue with a timestamp with the brackets around it.
Okay.
Was there another question in there? Interruptions, false starts, inaudibles.
Do you have a tag that you use for crosstalk when you can't make it out at all? Or do you just use inaudibles?
I would do crosstalks similar like this,
Okay.
with a timestamp. And it might be, let's say it's 21 minutes to 25 minutes, just making sure we have the timestamp so that they know that much for a whole entire minutes of audio is missing. However, crosstalk is kind of funny, and I hope this will make sense, because generally there's somebody who's on the mic and who you can tell is more of the main speaker, and then there's people are having a sidebar over here. So I try to capture the main speaker, like the Deffenbach Burns, and then maybe, if they're quote unquote caught up in this crosstalk, I might just turn them blue so that it's indicated that this is kind of they're all talking over each other. But, if the applicant is, for instance, speaking and he's trying to say his 2 cents, we can capture all that we can from the audio. We pull what we can from the audio. We don't have to make it pretty sentences, but we do try to reflect what has been heard. Does that answer your question kind of, Marceline?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Claire.
I'm just wondering about, I don't know what these meetings look like. I'm really hoping to finish up 2 tonight so that I wanted to grab one just to experience it. But what happens if there's people from the audience shout, like the public meeting portion are shouting? I'm just thinking of people shout.
not everybody is unrefined as they go. No, I just kidding.
I know. Why did I get that city? They're very,
They're very passionate, yes. So I would say maybe from audience. And then type it in, or even a bracketed,
okay.
and then you could put whatever they say in quotes, maybe, and then, yeah, just audience. Yeah, you wouldn't even have to do that. Let's just do this. It's been a hot minute since we've had to do verbatims. We used to, like I said, we used to do engineering minutes which are completely different than what they need for LUBA. So it's crazy. And then I would just include the timestamp at the end of what they say. Because usually if they're screaming from the audience, there's going to be crosstalk and over talk. And that way, I kind of look at the blue timestamp is kind of a cover our fannies, if you will. It's like, we know stuff's going on there. This is the best we can make out and move on. You know, we know, at least we're indicating to the client that there's stuff going on here. We absolutely do try the best we can to pull it. But again, it's kind of like those Google searches. If you're, you know, if you're into it a couple, 3 or 4 times through, stop. Just, you know, obviously you're doing the audio boost. I mean, as soon as I hear someone in the audience, I'm automatically doing an audio boost. I'm automatically slowing down my audio, as you guys know, and then I can listen to it a couple of times, you know, to get the gist of it, and then grasp what I can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, I have a question.
Of course.
So which cities are doing verbatims? Is it just Astoria, or do you have others?
Currently, we're just doing 4 verbatim files for the city of Astoria, because they've had a particular, it's kind of confusing to me because they've had the Historic Landmarks Commission has one application that's going to LUBA, but I cross-referenced that January 17th and the February one that they want done from council, and I do not even see this public hearing on there, but there's a lot of public comment. I can't even remember off the top of my head. I'm sure Letty's forgot it long ago as well. But there's public comment in that, and I'm wondering if there was something said that has triggered the whole entire file to be verbatim. Usually they just go, we just need section 1 and 2 or whatever, you know. So it's just Astoria, just those 4. In the past, we used to do the engineering, it's called a pre-application meeting for the city of Wilsonville. And those are just a bunch of engineers and the applicant talking about everything from water lines and grading and staging areas to knocking on public doors to let them know that their street's going to be closed for a month. I mean, it's just, they actually are pretty organized, but it's not very not as structured as what we currently do in a formal meeting.
Okay.
Hey, any other questions? Did what I showed, the 2 differences, does that make sense? Does that make sense as far as how the formatting needs to be?
Yeah, so it'll look the same as the agenda on the old one, but without the, if you're only transcribing the public hearing portion,
Yeah.
the agenda items will remain in order without the
Material. Without the
Thank you.
transcribed material, but like in this case, it will include all of the agenda material as well, because like this is
Okay.
the election of auctions officers of the agenda item, but this is the agenda also with this. Oh, come on, you. This is also the agenda printed with the agenda, and Stories is a little bit different because Letty changes these item number 1, item number 2. That's not actually the published agenda. They have a little bit of format. So that's why it's great. We've already transcribed these because she's got all of that done. All you have to do is go in and keep the call to order, the roll call, and then you'd also keep the adjournment time. So this is going to be retained as well. To give them an idea what it's at, but like public comments, you know, all of this again would just be deleted. We still are going to retain all of the agenda items following the public hearing that we're doing verbatim, but we're just going to take the meat out.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
since these have already been transcribed, do we need to indicate in any way on the verbatim transcript that that is the verbatim version of the transcript?
Yes, yes. So what I would do, that's a great question. Thank you. That's a great reminder, because then at the beginning, and this is something I was just going to add, but hey, I would just say verbatim. What did we do before? Just verbatim. Like the two new ones that are coming in would just be verbatim transcript. Hello. How in the world do I run a transcription company if I can type it? And then for like the public hearing, I might just do because we've already got those two in. So then verbatim transcription, I would just probably then highlight that it's agenda item number so and so, or actually resolution, or I think it's maybe it's a resolution or the new construction request. Sorry, my window was blocking. New construction request. NC 22088. So I would just put that in the title. Thank you, Letty. That's a perfect catch. And I probably would add that also in the footer, because when they're into page, I think this one was 26 pages or something, which is not bad for verbatim, but it was only that public hearing. That way, because they don't have, this particular city doesn't have a header. So that way, if they're on page 42, they can see, oh yeah, this is the verbatim transcription. I would just add that in the footer. So great. Anything else regarding verbatims? Okay. I'm going to stop share and stop the recording. Thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to these new formats that are becoming in April. And I hope this was really helpful. I hope especially if you have any questions about verbatim, please reach out and please give me your feedback as far as future trainings, receiving them via the video, or just keeping it up with Slack and doing some little social fun every month. Thanks.